Toronto Maple Leafs are making multiple moves ahead of tonight's game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Auston Matthews is making his well-anticipated return, but alongside that, we have a ton of other updates and some interesting moves that have went down by Craig Berube. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, but before we get into it all, quick reminder, if you're part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. We're on the road to 15,000 subscribers. It's a goal of ours we've had for a while. We're getting there. We're about 900 subs away, so if you're a part of that 71%, do myself a favor and Darius a favor and hit that subscribe button. We will be live. Well, Darius will be following the game tonight, so make sure to tune into the stream. Darius, ton of news going down. Obviously had the solo yesterday discussing some of these moves. We can go over them again, but Auston Matthews is making his return. We have a ton of other moves going down, and it was a very busy and news-filled practice this morning. And let's just dive right into it all. We'll start with Auston Matthews. So he spoke out on his return. He said, I didn't forget how to play hockey over the last 3 weeks, but obviously there's going to be a little bit of rust and a little bit of excitement to be back and playing again. And before we get into all the updated, moves and things like that, I just want to get your thoughts on Auston Matthews' return and how much it's going to mean to this team in the time where they desperately need some more offense, especially in that top pairing.
Well, I'm excited. I think he's excited and the fans are excited. Auston Matthews, the captain, is back in the lineup tonight. It's been 9 games that he's missed. We were not anticipating that. We thought maybe it'd be a couple of games looking back. And obviously, it's been a bit of a saga that was put together there, that's for sure. So I'm glad it's over and he'll be back in the lineup. And he plays very well, notoriously, against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the last time that the Leafs played the Tampa Bay Lightning this season, it was one of their best games of the season, probably top 3 best games of the season so far. So it's going to be another really good game in Tampa tonight, and Auston Matthews is back. The captain's back. I wonder what happens exactly with the lines. We'll get into that later in the video, but I am excited to see how he fits back into the lineup. And if there's any rust, as well, I think that's going to play a factor in tonight's game too. How fast does he get back up to speed? So it's going to be interesting to watch, and I wonder if he's a factor in this game. I think he's going to have to be because they're still dealing with a lot of injuries, but it's going to be exciting to watch the captain back in action.
Yeah, and hopefully he can get back to what we saw last season regarding at least some degree of it scoring goals. They've been off to a bit of a cold start, and some other things that go down. And the lines are very interesting, but Joseph Woll's not on the ice, which means he is projected to be the starter tonight against Tampa, which again was a little bit of a question. We have really no idea on a given game now who's going to start until the day of or the day before. So Joseph Woll's getting the start after Anthony Stolarz had a bit of a really his first rough game of the season against the Florida Panthers there. But this is the interesting thing. So Nylander and Robertson are both not taking part in the optional skate, which again doesn't tell us a whole lot, but I want to get into the lines now. There's a ton of things to discuss regarding these lines here. I covered them a little bit yesterday. They changed a lot of things. So they're sticking with the top line or top pairing, I should say, of Nyes and Matthews, but they're sliding William Nylander up to the top line for tonight's game. And again, this was kind of hinted at yesterday, but it wasn't confirmed. Now, obviously, today's practice, they're literally playing in 7 hours or so. So Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, and then Holmberg is basically just replacing Bobby McMahon's spot, who's out for multiple days or multiple games with an injury. They're going to keep Tavares and Marner together. And then you have Robertson, Minton, and Lorenz. So you're splitting up Gurbenkin, who moves down to the 4th line with Steves and Dewar. What are your thoughts on all this?
So we have word this morning from Craig Berube that obviously the Leafs they had an optional skate this morning, so they didn't have any line rushes. Not everyone was skating, so we don't know exactly what the lines are going to look like until game time. But we do know that Alex Steves is not playing tonight, so I would suspect that Steven Lorentz is going to move down to the 4th line again in his role where he normally plays, and then you're going to have Alex Nylander, who was an extra, I guess, yesterday at practice and who missed the optional skate this morning, along with Nick Robertson. Will probably slot into the lineup on the 3rd line again. They'll have like a similar kind of thing to what they had the other night, and I don't hate that. I really don't hate that. I think, Alex Steves he's been great, right? But I think you want to get another look at Gurbenkin if you're the Leafs and see what he has and if he can make an impact in any one of these games. And I think Alex Nylander has been really good. I honestly think he's been pretty good. He hasn't been noticeable in the way of, a negative impact or anything like that. So I think that you have to give him a shot, have to continue to play him on the 3rd line, give him a chance to play, especially because you just signed him to an NHL contract. Bobby McMahon's out of the lineup still. So I'm glad that he is in the lineup. And I think it's very interesting. And to go back to the goaltending too, because it's a weird game tonight. It really is. They're missing a couple of guys again. A lot of guys. Domi's still not playing, for example, right? I think it's a good thing that they're going with Woll. Woll has been playing good. You have obviously Stolarz, who probably his worst game of the season, and I don't think he's going to have many of those in the last game. So just reset with the team here. Hopefully they get back on track in this game, and then put obviously Stolarz back in net. It's also a busy month, so give him a little bit of a rest before we get kicked off into December, where they play almost every other day. So I think that's fine, and I think Joseph Woll has been playing great as well.
Yeah, again, these are the ones I covered yesterday, and we haven't really seen any today because of the weird just not weird necessarily not taking part in the optional skate, but yeah, Steves is out. Nylander, you would assume, would factor in. It's a very interesting line, and they might just stick with the the Robertson, Gurbenkin, Minton line, which honestly hasn't really been that impressive. But I think regarding Alex Nylander, every time he's up, you should basically be playing him at this point. They just converted his contract. He can't go back down unless he has the clear waivers, which I don't know if that's going to happen because of his he's still an NHL player. He just signed here in theory because of an AHL deal because of his brother. But I wouldn't mind seeing, and it's obviously not going to happen now, Nylander with Nylander, obviously William with Alex. But I think I want to get your thoughts on, because I covered it yesterday, specifically, obviously the bottom six, we don't know for sure what's going to happen tonight. It'll probably be some mix of, Steve's out, Nylander in somewhere. But the top line here with Nyes, Matthews, and Nylander, and of course the Holmberg, Tavares, Marner. So they really want to stick, and it's something we've been advocating for in the streams and the videos. They're sticking with the Tavares, Marner pairing, where both of them have been playing phenomenally. And they're putting William Nylander from the second to the top line along with Nyes and Matthews. So we're going to see a Nyes, Matthews, Nylander, which is a very strong first line, along with Tavares, Marner, and Pontus Holmberg, which is a little bit less exciting for me. I don't think Pontus has had a very good season by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, I don't really know who else you'd put there without losing a lot of the grit and depth and the identity of the third and specifically the fourth line. So Pontus makes sense, although losing Bobby McMahon, now that it's on paper, is a bit of a hit.
Yeah, and I would leave Alex Nylander on the third line personally. And if something, depending how the game goes, maybe you see him move up. And now that Matthews back, I think that dynamic might be done with that we saw against Utah. So I wouldn't touch him. I would leave him on the third line. In terms of the first line, I think it's going to be interesting to see because Matthews is coming back from, missing significant time. Nylander's been really, really good. So I want to see what that dynamic looks like because obviously Nylander's been carrying any line that he's on. Same with Marner for that, in that way as well. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see. Matthew Nyes needs to be on that first line. They need a guy to go get them the puck, to go to the net, stuff like that. So I think that's great. You don't want to touch the second line. Obviously, McMahon's out, so they're just throwing Holmberg there. Tavares has been really, really good this year. Like he's second in goals on the team or tied for second in goals on the team. He's actually second in the league in puck battles won as well. So he's been really, really good this year. So I wouldn't touch that at all. Holmberg just kind of gets that spot because McMahon's out. And I think you don't want to touch the first line. You don't want to touch the third line. So obviously Holmberg just slots in there on the left wing and they're dealing with injuries. So I'm sure, hopefully next week or the week after they're fully healthy with, Pacioretty coming back as well. So that's going to be fun. But I think that's probably what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, and Domi as well, like you mentioned, is going to come back soon. And regarding the blue line, Hakanpää and Philip Myers, but Hakanpää again is healthy scratch now. They're really liking the Benoit Timmins combo and just having both of them in the lineup, which is interesting. Timmins has been playing well, and it's going to be a very interesting game. Again, Steves is out, nothing too crazy. Nyes is back, which is also a thing that was a question mark coming into this game. It was all, in all likelihood, he was going to play, but he is officially in. So again, regarding these lines from yesterday's practice, I think they're all going to be the same, minus, Nylander in for Alex Steves, which is super interesting. One quick thing before we wrap up. Lightning and Team Canada head coach John Cooper on the difference in Marner's game, kind of just comparing him. He's been phenomenal this year, Mitch Marner, that is. Probably confidence and swag. He's always had it, but you see it in how he plays. I'm a massive Mitch Marner fan, being able to coach him in 2017, and he's always had it in him, but I think he's let it out a little bit more, and in a good way. He's not showing off. He does everything with a purpose, and man, it's amazing how he thinks the game. It's elite. Do you have any thoughts on this? Shout out to John Cooper, a very good coach, a very well-respected human as well around the NHL, and we get to play him tonight, Team Canada head coach, and hopefully Marner can, prove him right and go out and score a bunch of goals.
Yeah, one of the best coaches in the league. I have a lot of respect for John Cooper. I think he's a great coach and a great mind, and great comments for Mitch Marner, right? Because obviously they've played each other in the playoffs the last couple of years, so he's seen a lot of him, and Mitch Marner's had a great season so far. So I think he's going to end up coaching him too at the Four Nations tournament there in February, because I think Mitch Marner's going to make that team. So it's really good praise for Mitch Marner there.
Yeah, and it's a big game tonight because Florida's technically overtaking the Leafs in first place for the Atlantic because of games in hand. I think they have 3 games in hand on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Correct me if I'm wrong down below. It's something like that. But the Leafs are going to make up those games in December, and we'll keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. See you guys later.